Experiences building local communities of open source practices users through the Carpentries membership program. I'm Elizabeth Williams, and shout out to Carrie Jordan, our Deputy Director of Assessment and Equity and Inclusion, who works with me on membership and equity and inclusion, which we're going to talk about, as well as help me put together the membership survey that is the basis of some of what I'm going to show you here today. Couldn't have done it without her help. So I'm going to preface this with, I get really excited about this topic, and I timed this talk before this, and it ran like exactly to 30 minutes, so I'm gonna do my best to not get excited, but that's pretty much impossible. And so I just wanna say now, before we run out of time, that if you have any questions, please feel free to flag me down in the middle of the conference. You can find our contact information on the Carpentries website, and my email is there as well. So I would welcome any of your questions here, or after the talk. So if here, you could, shout my name in the hallway, or you could sing the song. Yes, there's a song. You're regretting coming to this talk now, aren't you? Yeah, don't worry, it's a really short song. So Carrie Jordan, there she is, recently wowed people at a keynote by opening her keynote with a song, and she has an amazing voice, and she's an amazing person, and I want this to become a thing. And that's because I want to hear all of you sing up here on the podium when you're giving your talk. So I will sacrifice, I will be the first person who the most you can say is that I can carry a tune, to sing up here as a way to introduce myself. So I'm Elizabeth, and I'm okay. Apparently I had a very irregular sleep pattern when I was a baby, and my dad, who's not a musical man at all, must have been really sleep deprived because he made up a song for me. Those of you familiar with Monty Python and the Lumberjack song might recognize this tune. All right, so here I go. I'm Elizabeth and I'm okay. I'm up all night and I sleep all day. I think the implication here was that my parents were not okay. That maybe will help you remember my name a little bit, because I always have a lot of trouble with that. So I'm Elizabeth, and I'm okay. I'm great, actually. I was kind of up all night preparing and being excited for this talk, but I don't get to sleep all day anymore. This is my first SciPy, and I was not sure what to expect at all, but I've already learned so many things from so many people, and so respectfully and thoughtfully, I'm really excited for the rest of my time here, so thank you to all of you for being here. So I'm the Director of Membership for the Carpentries. I've been the Director of Membership for the last 6 months, and I've been with the Carpentries for 2 years. In between this and diapers, I graduated from UC Davis with a degree in cultural anthropology, and I had some health issues at the end of my senior year, or I probably would have applied to grad school, but bless the broken road that led me here, right? Instead, I started working at a bagel store as a tutor, directing a tutoring center, as a private organizational consultant, whatever that is, I'm still not sure, but it paid the bills, as a bookkeeper, and finally as a research assistant in Samin Vazir's Personality and Self-Knowledge Lab, Psychology Lab at UC Davis, with the idea that I would pursue clinical psychology, build up my resume, and just make sure that research was as boring as I thought it was going to be. Guys, I don't know, I might be the first person to tell you this, but research is super interesting. So I ended up the lab manager at this lab, working closely with the PI and the graduate students with the intention of narrowing down my areas of interest for graduate school. And 3 important things happened to me at this time. First, I was introduced to the concept/problem of reproducibility by Samin, who's the co-founder of SIPS, the Society for the Improvement of Psychological Science, and I became passionate about this. Second, I experienced the fulfillment of building and supporting a community for the first time. We had 50 RAs in our lab, and with some effort and some structure, our undergraduates became a community, and they stayed beyond the terms of their agreement, volunteering a significant amount of their time to our project, which was not very fun to do. It was very exciting, but on the daily, it was not enjoyable, and all the while giving us positive feedback about their experiences. Finally, I decided that my personality and strengths were not best suited to research, and that there were brilliant people doing this work already. I wanted to use my passion for science, methods, learning, tools, and my administrative and communication skills to support researchers in their fight to revolutionize science and society. And I had no idea how to do this. And then I found the Carpentries. So I'm Elizabeth, and I'm okay. I am more than okay. So some context for those of you who aren't familiar with the Carpentries, and those of you who are, this is going to be the really short version. So the Carpentries is a global, community-led, nonprofit that collaboratively develops open access, lesson materials, and pedagogical training to teach those lessons in foundational, that's a foundation if you can't tell from the picture, is the best I could do, in software and data science skills. That's how I feel about my skills. I'm a baby coder for researchers. Now, how this scales is that we have a small group of trainers who use our Instructor, our collaboratively developed and openly accessible instructor training curriculum to run instructor training workshops to train a larger amount of instructors who then use the lesson materials that are developed to teach workshops for an even larger amount of learners. So right now we're at about 40,000 learners reached, which we're very proud of. And both of these workshops use our tried and tested 2-day workshop structure. So I want to make it very clear that beyond trainers, instructors, and learners, there are a lot of people in our community. We have maintainers, curriculum advisory committees, workshop helpers, instructor development committee, workshop hosts, code of conduct committee, curriculum developers, staff, executive council, our fiscal sponsor, community initiatives, regional coordinators, champions, donors, discussion hosts, task forces, to name some, but definitely not all. And we're very proud of that as well. But today I'm going to be focusing on just one aspect of our program that will hopefully be helpful to you in regards to building and sustaining a community and organizing and making that community sustainable. So our membership program is an organizational membership program right now. I dream of the day when we will have an individual membership program. We're brainstorming on that, but for right now we partner with organizations to build local capacity for training and communities of practice at their organization. Our membership program also supports our global community, both financially and through work contributions. So we have 3 technically levels of membership right now: silver, gold, and platinum. The main primary offerings of these memberships are centrally coordinated workshops, which we'll talk about later, instructor training, and then we'll talk about this guy a little bit later too. So I'm going to start with our membership program successes. And why we feel that our membership program has been successful in some aspects, why I feel like something I might say here today might be useful to you. So we have about 80 member organizations, and this has been growing consistently every year. We have a renewal rate of about 85%. Which we think is good. We dedicate a very nominal amount of resources to outreach. As director of membership right now, I am fielding the balls that are thrown at me. I'm responding to the people who come, who want to learn more, and who reach out to me. So we feel like this program also has more potential than we're seeing if we had the resources and the structure to efficiently do outreach into new communities who haven't heard of us yet. And membership has been a great source of funding. Historically for us, it's been about on at like 50% of our funding, and this is great because it's not grant funding. The funding comes to us to support the Carpentries, and we can use it for maybe invisible work that doesn't get as much attention or isn't as enticing in grant applications, and it's really helped to sustain our community in that way, and also like through grant cycles and in the gaps. So I have tried to create the rest of this presentation to be general, so that it will apply to communities like ours, but that's some context for the examples that I'll use about our membership program. So the first thing that we've learned that has been successful is that our membership program is successful because it uses the existing structures of an organization to build community. So organizations have space, and they have people in the same space, and it varies by organization, but they also often have training programs, not often enough, communication channels, and access to coffee. And yet they lack a community around computational training. So membership has been a way to plop Carpentries into these existing structures and create something that has been missing. Next, what we would recommend is figure out what you already have that people want. If you can, don't start with what we could create, start with what do we already have that people want. For example, I mentioned those centrally coordinated workshops that are part of our membership benefit. Centrally coordinated workshops use all of the information that is available and openly accessible in our Carpentries handbook. But our workshop team in the centrally coordinated workshops, we have hundreds of people around the world who organize hundreds of self-organized workshops every year. It's totally doable, but it can be a little bit daunting to get started until you learn the structure, or maybe your organization just doesn't have the time. It's definitely easier when it's centrally coordinated. So our workshop team walks the host through the whole process, prompting, make sure things get done on time, answering questions, and the workshop team is able to connect people to instructors. So for privacy reasons, we really want to protect the privacy of our instructors, and we can't/won't give a list to anyone of people who have been trained with us as instructors. But our instructors, when they complete instructor training, have the option of saying that they can be contacted regarding opportunities to teach. And so with a centrally coordinated workshop, if the member organization is looking for someone with a specific background or more experience, or in a certain department, or who can teach a certain lesson, we can send out that call to our instructors and they can opt in to that teaching opportunity. So members get experienced instructors they wouldn't have access to, and instructors get the opportunity to sign up to travel and to network and to refine their teaching skills at member organizations, completely opt in. So next, we've learned that it is important to learn to speak differently about your community to different organizations and different parties at those organizations, and make one-pagers so you don't have to say the same thing over and over and over again. You can give them to people. So now let's imagine you have this set of things that you already have, and you've decided that they'll be valuable to people. But different organizations and different people within them will see different values. So the number one rule of writing is know your audience. We have learned to tell our story, the same story, in different ways. I'm actually really lucky. I never feel pressured to lie. Within this position, I talk to people, and I very often say, yeah, it doesn't sound like membership is right for you right now, but have you talked to so-and-so about such and such? And I don't have to have that salesperson feel, which I hate. And so researchers, or most of our community members, we talk a lot about helping learners, growing confidence, community interaction, and teaching pedagogy. But to an administrator, we would tell this story in terms of the effects that it has on an organization, in terms of ROI, of training one graduate student or staff member as an instructor so that they can self-organize workshops. Community members talk about how they've benefited from the Carpentries and want others to benefit, and so they volunteer and they advocate at their organization. To an administrator, we might point out that their organization has benefited from or depends upon the Carpentries materials, and that it's in their best interest to help us be sustainable. So our next lesson, or thing that has worked well for us, is to support people who are able and willing to advocate internally in these organizations. The number one logistical reason that this is a good idea is that it's scalable. We have a very small staff who works to support a community of thousands of people who care about and want to do a lot of things, and it's our job to support that. So my title is Director of Membership, but in a small staff across time zones serving a global community, I would estimate that less than 50% of my time is directly geared towards the membership program, and we'll talk about this later. So by empowering local advocates, it's very efficient because they are often more effective than I could ever be. They're familiar with the nuances of their organization's culture. They know who to talk to. They're better able to figure out with us what is going to work. And it can be much more compelling for an internal person to advocate than an external person to come in. Again, that kind of sales pitchy feel. And be patient and nice with your internal advocates. They are volunteering and they are believing in something, but persistent. I've definitely noticed that people want to do this. And one of the ways that I can help is without, hopefully, making them feel uncomfortable at all, just saying, hey, how's it going? And checking in. And if they ever say, I don't have time for this anymore, I say, I'm, so sorry, please let me know if ever you are interested again. So be willing to be flexible with your benefits of whatever program and with your free structure. So going back to that platinum level, that is essentially a membership level for everything that is not gold or silver. I would say probably more than half of our members are just straightforward gold or silver, but there's a large proportion of them that are something else, and we call that platinum. And it is everything from members who have decided that they want to support us financially more than the cost of gold or silver. It's members who give us in-kind time for lesson development. All of our regional coordinators are through in-kind membership, and these are people in regions who are able to, boots on the ground, do things that we couldn't to connect the community and organize workshops in their areas. Our social sciences lesson was developed with an in-kind membership partnership. This is really effective, and it has been really successful. I will talk about this later, but the successful part has been the flexibility. Now, from an organizational standpoint, this is definitely more work. It is more time talking, it is more time being transparent, and on the back end, it's more time keeping track of things. But my feeling is that it is completely worth it. If people want to support you, work with them in how they can support you. If they want to give you $500, and the way that that's going to happen is if they get to be called a member, you figure out a way that you can call them a member and still maintain your values. And that leads right into this one. Make it easy for people to support you. So I mentioned our membership survey, which I'm ridiculously proud of. And these are preliminary results. I'm only halfway to the end that I want. But preliminarily, we asked a question about what the primary goals of people's memberships were. And I'll talk about the diversity of our member organizations in a little bit. But 80% of the respondents indicated that one of their primary reasons for being a member was that they had benefited from or continued to benefit from the Carpentries materials, and that membership was a way for them to support the sustainability of the Carpentries. I hear people talk about how it's the right thing to do, but I'm getting goosebumps right now, just thinking about that. It's incredible. And so what can I do as the director of membership? I can make this easy for them. Right? I can be flexible, and this is, I don't want to say an accidental success of our membership program. I think this is actually probably the reason that it was conceived of in the first place. But membership has provided a feasible avenue for people to financially support the Carpentries. It's an excuse. It's something we can justify to administrators. It's something that does give back to the organization, and it's a pathway. So, if you guys are familiar with the Carpentries, of course, we have an interactive activity. So I want to first say that if you are here to relax and rest your feet and rest your voice or answer emails, please do not feel any pressure to participate in this. But we have found that exercises like this are very valuable. And if you're like me, you're here to talk to other people and not necessarily to listen to me. So I'm going to give you that opportunity. So Think, Pair, Share is usually you take some time to reflect on whatever the question or the issue is, and then you pair with someone else and talk about it, and then you share with the larger group. In the interest of time, we are going to think about things, and then we are going to turn to our neighbor to pair, and then we are going to share between each other. So what I would ask you to reflect and share about is something that I'm pretty sure originated in our community. I really need to track down who said this first so that I can give them credit. But we say this all the time, chopportunity. A challenge that is also an opportunity, or a challenging opportunity. And this is a way for us to think positively and honestly remain sane about our challenges. So an example of this is we recently reached this membership survey, and it's really important that I get feedback, not only from representatives of current member organizations, but from past member organizations who chose not to or who were not able to renew for whatever reason. However, this presents a significant communication challenge since these membership contacts may no longer be in close contact with our community. People change affiliation and may not have updated their records, and member contacts just change completely. But this challenge is, and feel free, I'm sorry I'm being rainbows and sunshine, but sometimes rainbows and sunshine are good. This challenge is also an opportunity for us to reconnect to those community members. If we find a solution to this problem of how to get membership input from those community members, we are also, at the same time, it's an opportunity to connect with them. It's also an opportunity to improve and expand our communication channels, as well as to get that valuable membership feedback. So I'm gonna give you probably about a minute to think about this discussion question. What is one issue in your community, whatever community you're here thinking about at this talk today, or even an imaginary community that you really want to start but that doesn't exist yet? What is one issue in your community that you view as a challenge, and how might this also be an opportunity? So I'm going to give you a minute, and then we'll go ahead and pair and do some sharing, and then I'll call you back to the larger group. All right, guys, we're going to come on back. Hope you've had some great conversations. You can always continue them later, though. We still have one full day. All right, guys, the cat wants you to come back. He's very sad. Yeah, very, very sad. Thank you. I hope that was valuable. So now that you've talked about your opportunities, I'm going to go ahead and spend a couple of minutes talking about our opportunities. This is an amazing community. These are things that we're thinking about but haven't necessarily found solutions to yet. And one thing that I would like to do is to use you as a resource. And if you have ideas about how we could overcome these challenges, I would love to hear about that as well. If you send in an email to our team inbox, our team is great. If you just use the word membership anywhere, it will come to me. So I would love to hear those now or in the future. So, as part of our membership survey, we have decided it's really important for us as our community diversifies and as things move so quickly to have a quantitative way to measure how well we're keeping pace with what our community needs. So this is our Net Promoter Score. It's basically like a rating, like a recommendation rating. And as you can see, we have 7, 8, 9, 10, but we have some 5s and 6s. And what we're exploring now is what we need to do to get that up into the 9, 10, or all 10 range. And we definitely have some work to do. So the first thing is equity, inclusion, and accessibility. This is very central to the Carpentries, but it's not present enough in our membership program explicitly. Our member survey shows that member organizations are very interested in a number of ways that we have proposed to help them with this within their community and their program. Organizing partnerships with historically underserved or underrepresented communities, getting them resources, getting the member organizations resources on how they could increase EAI in their local communities. Aligning our member organizations with our mission and values. I foresee that this is going to be a struggle for us, or something that we will at least need to be conscious of and think about. Since the membership program started, organizations who are interested in membership have tended to be ones that are in communities or have communities in them that align very well with our mission and values. They've come from, we call them champions at these organizations, the people who advocate for this. And it hasn't really been a question. Increasingly, as the amazing work that those communities are doing and the impact that it has spreads in reputation, I've been contacted a couple of times by organizations who are not familiar with the Carpentries. They don't have an internal advocate. They heard about the Carpentries from somewhere, and they approached the Carpentries from what I'll call a Carpentries as a service perspective. And I foresee that we will need to develop ways to evaluate the alignment of member organizations with our values and mission in the future in order to protect our community and to have the greatest impact toward our mission by partnering with organizations who share that vision. Supporting member organizations and community organization and development. Tanya did a great job covering this if you were lucky enough to see her talk the other day. Setting up a community is no easy task, much less organizing workshops to meet increasing demands, communicating and keeping track of instructors, and supporting your learners after the workshop. A lot of people who advocate for membership get it through like the membership process, or people who want to set up the community do that without realizing that they are fulfilling this role. They often do it for years without realizing what they're doing. One of our executive council members sent me an email the other day and she said, Elizabeth, I just realized I'm a community organizer. I had no idea. I've been doing it for years and I don't have training in that. I don't have resources. No wonder this has been so difficult. So we would love to be able to help with that. And this is also that was also backed up in our member organization survey. Members are very interested in how we could help with that. So finally, balancing membership balancing membership with benefits with open access. How do you convince people to pay a fee for something that is freely available? This is not a problem that is unique to us, and I feel like we've found very elegant solutions to it in the past. Moving forward, as we develop and expand the membership program, it will be a continuous challenge to support our financial sustainability by finding creative ways to make membership a benefit while aligning it with our values. And explicitly diversifying membership levels and benefits. So explicitly is there because, as I talked about earlier, within the context of that platinum level membership, it is pretty diverse, actually. But these membership tiers haven't been changed since the membership program was started initially, when we really had no idea what it was going to be. Now we have enough information and we have enough member organizations where we have the capacity to survey them and to ask them what they want. And we have libraries and research centers and labs and compute centers and academic departments. And we have older communities, people who've been with us membership from the beginning. Maybe they have enough instructors. They're like, we don't need any more instructors. We can self-organize workshops. How can we continue to support you? Because we can't justify this to our administration anymore. But now they have all these instructors and they're like, well, what do we do with them? So adding things for multiple stages of membership, now that we're lucky enough to have people who are in different stages, who are building and sustaining communities this way. Yes. So, if I have time, I do have time. Oh, I have 1 minute. I do not have time. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to think about this question, because I hope it's something I can do for you. I have trouble carving out time for this in my own life. Think about how you've been successful. Think about where your community was a year ago. What have you solved? Who have you helped? What are you proud of? Think about that and share it with someone on the way out, and then we will still have done it. And the puppy is sad to see you go. And finally, I have a couple of thank yous to give to the Carpentries community members. If you're here, or if you know one you want to spread some love to, I am proud and humbled every day, both professionally and as a human being working with you. This community of people works not only to do good work, but to do good. And this is a journey that we're on as a scientific community and as a society, and there's no other group of people that I would rather take it with. And finally, thank you to all of you. You are creating spaces and things and knowledge and tools for people like me to find when we don't know what we're looking for. And you should be very proud of that. Thank you.